Good day, Way of the Rose community. I am here to offer you a reflection on the Tough Stuff Novena. This is March 13, day 21, and the Glorious Mystery. And as other people are sharing, this novena is very focusing on that space between that crucifixion, the sorrowful mysteries, and the resurrection. Now, I'm in reversed seasons to those in the Northern Hemisphere, but I can still speak to, so we're going into autumn and not spring, but this novena still speaks to us all. So I'll share a few stories, but also probably have some movement as well. Is that recently the tough stuff came up for me when right before New Year's, I looked out the window and saw emergency vehicles, the neighbor down by his car, and it had started to rain. They were offering CPR. And my husband came into the house and asked if we had an umbrella. I gave him the umbrella because for whatever reason, I had found it like a couple of days prior and went, oh, we have an umbrella. So he went over and held the umbrella in the rain while the medics performed CPR. So I knew that I could grab my rosary and start saying an ER novena and whatever else prayers were coming to me in that moment as I stood on my front porch looking over as the medics were working. They did find a pulse. They took him to the hospital and he died shortly after that. He was older, but it was a bit of a shock. And at the same time, I feel that my work with Perdita, with the dead, and also my rosary give me a tool to be with that experience. Just like as my authentic movement teacher, Janet Adler, was passing away, she was in hospice care. I could do a lot of praying over that transition time, and I was feeling I could really hold her during those days because we knew when she was in care and then we knew when she died. And to be able to, even though I'm far away from where she lives, to be able to use my rosary to call on the dead, to pray the prayers, to pray the ER novena if necessary. It's all there in the rosary. And so recently, another well-known dance teacher, Steve Paxton, has passed away. And again, I found out pretty quickly about that experience. And again, I can call on him as in my dead, and I'm learning so much about how to use the rosary in that transition space. So the other piece I will mention is that my youngest son is going through a really rough patch and bringing up some issues that he thinks happened to him. And so he's very angry at us. And so that's been very hard on my heart. And again, being in that space from the crucifixion to the resurrection, I often feel I am stuck in that space. So what I find for me is that I need to stay with the joy and of my dance to kind of counterbalance some of this hard stuff. Sometimes my dance will just be very simple, and I can actually bring the rosary in, hold the rosary as I'm dancing. Sometimes I just need that, trying to stay in the pelvis, in the center line, and just doing movements to cross the midline often helps me just stay in myself as I'm in this transition space. So that might be movement that you might engage with. Sometimes just gentle rocking, feeling my weight shift. That helps me stay in my body. And sometimes just bringing the hands close to the body, or even doing some of the tactile pattern of, sometimes it is the brushing off, or tapping, or just a care stroking. Sometimes that's enough to just bring me back into me, even though I'm carrying these worries, which may be carrying the cross more than that transition between resurrection, or the crucifixion and the resurrection. But for me, coming back into my body and coming back into dance helps me find my aliveness and my potential and where I can be. And so if I really find some music that has particular, speaks to me in the moment, I find that, and I just begin to let my body do whatever movements it needs to do. And that starts to reawaken from that crucifixion to coming into the resurrection, the rebirth. And dance just naturally has that capacity to help us rebirth, renew, revitalize. So whatever level you can do, sometimes it's just sitting in your chair and using that as your limitation or your center. I'll come back closer to the camera so you can, just sit on a chair and begin to do a little bit of movement. And it can just be a simple gesture that you need to perhaps just hold yourself while you're in that transitional space. And always returning to the breath. So may we be guided by our mama, say our rosary prayers, and bring all of it together. Thank you very much.